The late 2000s showcased the true dominance and class of Jimmie Johnson, Chad Knaus, and the rest of that 48 Lowe's Chevy team. As many fans know, they were able to score 5 straight Cup Series championships, a record that will probably never be broken again and one we had not seen before then. Throw in the constant points format changes as well as the vast variety of competition they had to face year in and year out, and this makes this accomplishment 10 times more remarkable. What gets lost in history, however, is how much of a struggle it was prior to that. In the early 2000s, it was an early successful career for this team, 18 wins in 4 seasons, but always failed to win when it counted the most. This included seasons in which Jimmie Johnson became the first rookie in 2002 to lead the points, but unfortunately blew it. 2003, Matt Kenseth just had a straight up dominant year. 2004, only 8 wins, but unfortunately came up short. And of course, 2005, when he cut a tire trailing Tony Stewart by 52 points, ending his chances for the 4th season in a row. This meant entering year 5, it was either championship or bust. And they got off to the best start possible. Despite Chad Knaus being suspended the first 4 races of 2006, Darian Grubb took the helm, and they were able to score 2 wins in the first 4 races. That included a Daytona 500 being Johnson's first, and a close nail-biter finish with Kenseth at Las Vegas. Once Chad Knaus returned, it was back to business as usual, and already a quarter into the season, they had scored 3 wins in the first 9 races. What happened a few weeks later at Dover showed their luck might have changed forever.
Here's our point standing leader in the Nextel Cup Series, Jimmie Johnson. Qualified 3rd at Lowe's, his 8th.
Whoa, boys, this is ugly.
Off the wall, keep it off the wall.
That is
wow.
That is amazing. You can't do that here. I have never seen that done here.
Gordon gave him a 10.
If you look at how this straightaway slopes toward the infield wall, you can appreciate how difficult it was for Jimmie to save this car.
You can't do that.
Nope.
There's no way. Right here, the thing should nose into the wall. Okay, so right here, it should come around and nose into the wall. And right here, it should come around and nose into the wall. And right here, it should have hit the wall with the back end.
Gordon's happy with that.
Well, he's listed as the owner of that car.
The regular season was a breeze as usual. This team was on a roll, holding the points lead for 22 of the 26 regular season races, and scoring the monumental first victory in that season's Brickyard 400. This put their regular season win total at 4, and by the time the points were reset for that season's chase, they were sitting 2nd in the standings after losing the lead in the final 2 regular season races. Matt Kenseth was sitting atop the standings, and also for the restart, the points format was this at the time. The only bonus points anyone received was where you were at the time of reseeding. This meant only 5 extra bonus points for each of the top 10. All of the consistency that was built throughout the season is now irrelevant. The question is, what could they do now?
It was on lap 42 that Chase contender Jimmie Johnson radioed in that he had a cylinder, that he'd lost a cylinder on the 48. 13 laps later, they asked him, is it any worse? He said, no, it is the same. They're preparing to go under the hood on the next stop, perhaps something as simple as just a bad plug wire.
Watch to the left of Jimmie Johnson. You see, Biffle had to avoid the 07, and it knocked 14. Hit the brakes, he hit Biffle, slid up the racetrack, and got into the 48. I mean, that wasn't, Sterling was just trying to avoid a wreck. Nobody's fault, just being at the wrong place at the wrong time.
And that's because you're deep in the field.
That's right.
There's Chad. Their season last year ended with a crash at Homestead. And now the chase begins with a crash here at New Hampshire.
During this particular era of the playoffs, the champion was usually provided 1 mulligan in these scenarios, meaning 1 DNF wouldn't totally do them in and that they still had hope at competing for a championship. Well, this season was particularly unique. Jimmie Johnson started off the season with a grand total of 4. Yes, that's right, 4 mulligans in the first 4 races. The beginning of the chase was horrendous. A DNF at New Hampshire. At Dover, he had pit road mishaps, which led to him being a lap down, which led to a 13th place finish. At Kansas, they ran out of fuel within the final 10 laps, but Talladega might have been the worst of them all. Coming down to the wire, Johnson and Brian Vickers were waiting to make their move on the last lap.
Hey, getting a little wider.
There he goes.
Junior. Oh, no! Vickers hits the 48.
The 48. It takes out Earnhardt and Jimmie Johnson.
The tandem result was a massive failure, and at the end of it, Johnson ended up losing way more points than he should have. The damage done after the first 4 races of the chase was now Jimmie Johnson sitting 8th in the standings, 138 points behind the lead. No question this team had the capabilities to turn up the performance when needed, but the question was, did they have enough time to come back from that big of a points deficit in only 6 races? In order to make this ultimate playoff comeback a reality, they needed to be nearly perfect from here on out. Charlotte Motor Speedway was a perfect place to get this started, well, at the time Lowe's Motor Speedway. Even though they ran up front for some of the race, they were able to stay consistent throughout and ended up scoring a 2nd place finish, the first of many, by the way. This race made little progress in the big picture, but the next race had a massive gain.
Last lap at Martinsville. Jimmie Johnson won this race 2 years ago, but there was no victory lane, no celebration. 10 members of the Hendrick family, Tony Stewart's helicopter pilot, killed in a plane crash on their way to this race. Johnson's always wanted to get back to victory lane here at Martinsville to salute those fallen friends, and Johnson wins the Subway 500 at Martinsville. Strong run by Denny Hamlin and Bobby Labonte.
To drive this race car today. Jimmy, great job. Great job, pit crew. Great job done by everybody.
It was Chad Knaus. You heard Chad talking about how car owner Rick Hendrick is not at the track today.
A much-needed win at Martinsville reignited Jimmie Johnson's championship chances. Another strong performance at Martinsville included Jimmie Johnson leading nearly half the race, scoring his 5th win of 2006. And most importantly, a much-needed first win in the chase. This was the biggest game by far, seeing them climb 4 spots in the standings, only 41 points behind the lead. Atlanta was a cakewalk as they showed speed right from the get-go, starting 3rd and finishing runner-up for the 2nd time in 3 weeks. They only led 27 laps, but they needed the 2nd place finish, and it did a lot for the 3rd week in a row. The end result was another spot up the standings, this time only 26 points back to his early season rival Matt Kenseth. The following race at Texas was nearly identical, this time starting 5th, but once again scoring another runner-up finish. Only leading 1 lap in this entire race, but those 5 points were valuable in a championship. It would help extend his new lead over Matt Kenseth by 17 points. With just 2 races to go, they did it. They're finally atop the standings, but now needed to preserve it. Johnson started the race 29th, but through pure speed and straight up excellent strategy, he was able to get inside the top 5 in no time. Throughout the day, Kevin Harvick was the dominant car and ended up winning this race, but Johnson just needed a strong finish, and for the 3rd time in a row, he would score a runner-up finish. With Matt Kenseth being incredibly mediocre throughout the day, this led to Jimmie Johnson ultimately pushing his points lead entering Homestead. After all the chaos surrounding this year's chase run, all Jimmie Johnson needs to do now is place 12th or better, and the championship is his.
We're always very good at staying focused on each day and attacking that day and not letting the pressure of bad days or good days really affect us. So that's something I'm very proud of this race team for. And we did have some, forget it, let's just go on, race for the win. And some of that stuff did come into play, and we did talk about it, but we didn't need that to perform. We just have that ability to shrug stuff off and keep moving.
The 63-point cushion didn't really affect strategy much. Yes, they were a tad bit more cautious than usual, but at the same time, they were still performing well. Throughout the day, there was very little separation between Matt Kenseth and Jimmie Johnson on track. With around 20 laps to go, Kenseth was running solidly inside the top 5 while Jimmie Johnson was running in 8th. With nearly 10 laps to go, the race was red flagged for Juan Pablo Montoya's accident causing a massive fire in the rear. This put on the red flag for a while, but another incident with the other Haviland car and Casey Mears with just under 10 to go would cause the final caution of the night. In the final laps, all Johnson has to do now is maintain an easy 15th place finish or better.
Craig Biffle goes 3 in a row at Homestead, and Jimmie Johnson is the 2006 NASCAR Nextel Cup Series champion. What a run for those boys. They were out of it early in the chase. 4 terrible races to begin the chase here in 2006. And all of a sudden, they came to life.
This would become the first of many Cup Series championships for Jimmie Johnson, Chad Knaus, and this entire Lowe's 48 team. Out of his 7 championships, I'd say personally 2006 was the greatest. If you want to go statistical, 2007 and 2009 are statistically his strongest seasons, but with the ultimate slump in the first 4 races, as well as the amazing comeback that followed in the last 6, 2006 to me will always be his greatest championship. The first one gave the team as a whole ultimate confidence in themselves that they could overcome any obstacle when it came down to playoff time. In the end, you don't end up with 7 championships without the first one. And once again, that'll do it for another video. Thank you guys so much for watching. This is Black Flags Matter. Catch you next time.